Hello, I'm Justice. I'm Miss Ramford's son, and I'll be reading you a Batman book today. Right, Nini? It's called The Perfect Crime. Get it? Get it, Nini? Right, you reckon like this? Bruce Wayne was one of the richest men in Gotham City. He lived in Wayne Manor above a secret cave, the Batcave. That's because Bruce Wayne is also Batman. Every evening, Batman carefully checked his crime-fighting tools and equipment. Then he would go out on the prowl. Okay. On the roof of Gotham Museum, Catwoman was so happy she could purr, but she was as quiet as she could be. It was the middle of the night. Any noise could set off alarms outside, and that would bring Batman. That's Catwoman, and that's her being quiet. Catwoman carefully cut a hole into the glass skylight with her glass cutter. The hole was just big enough for her to wiggle through. She smiled and she dropped a rope through the hole. Quiet as a cat, she went down rope into the dark museum. The week before, she had stolen the plans for the museum's alarm system from the security company, so she knew just what she would find. "4 feet below her was a maze of hidden laser beams. If anything passed through any of the beams, it would trigger the alarm. So Catwoman pulled a small gray can of spray from her bag on her belt. She sprayed the floor. A cloud of smoke spread through the darkness. The beams of light showed with bright red. Catwoman dropped safely to the floor between the beams like a cat who always lands on her feet. Step 1 was done. It was time for step 2. Inside the glass display was a case in front of her where the very thing she had come to the museum to steal, the golden cats of Bast. Hiss. Chapter 2. A Tale of 3 Cats. Catwoman could not resist a valuable cat. In the twin statues of Bast, an ancient Egyptian goddess in the shape of a cat, were worth a lot of money. The statues, on a loan from Egyptian government, were sold solid gold with glowing rubies or eyes and collars with big diamonds. Wow. But Catwoman knew there was an alarm on display of the case, and the slightest touch to the case could set it off. So she pulled out the second spray can, where she sprayed a thick glass with a special freezing gas. A mist settled on the case. Within seconds, the case and the alarm were frozen solid. Catwoman tapped on the glass. The case broke into pieces. With a happy purr, Catwoman picked up the first statue. Once Catwoman had been a lonely little girl named Selina Kyle, and cats were her only friends. She decided to become a supervillain. She chose the name Catwoman and dressed up as a cat for her secret identity. Catwoman trusts cats, not people. Perfect, she said. She put the first statue into her pouch. As she reached for the second one, she heard a familiar verse. "Sorry to spoil your night, Catwoman." And the lights came on. That was like an origin story, shoehorn in the middle. Chapter 3, 9 Lives. "Batman," she hissed. She whirled around. "How'd you know? I was so careful." The Cape Crusader stopped in front of the shadows of the light. "I only had to wait for you," he says. As soon as I heard about the Bast exhibit, I knew Catwoman wouldn't be able to resist trying to steal the statues. "Try," said Catwoman. "I've got one, and you can't catch me." And Catwoman leaped for the rope that still hung from the skylight. Agile as a cat, she began to climb, but the dark night was right behind her. As Catwoman pulled herself through the hole in the skylight, she could see him climbing after, but he would never be able to make it in time to stop her. As soon as she was on the roof, Catwoman untied the rope. She watched with a smile as the rope fell down the hole. Batman landed with a thud. We'll meet again soon, Catwoman," Batman shouted. Catwoman didn't want to leave behind the second statue, but she had no choice. "Batman is always one step ahead of me," she thought as she leaped across the rooftops. "How does he always know where I am?" Then she remembered something. Batman expected Catwoman to steal the statues. What if I were not Catwoman? She thought as she escaped to the night. Chapter 4. Cat got your tongue? Batman sat in the Master Control Center in the Batcave. He looked at the giant computer monitor. Alfred, his butler and lifelong friend, stepped out of the elevator carrying a tray. "Here you are, sir," Alfred said. He put the tray down next to Batman. "I trust the night went well?" "Not at all," Batman said. "Catwoman escaped with one of the statues." "She is rather a sneaky one," Alfred said. "Yes, she is," said Batman. "But I can't usually guess where she'll strike next." "She'll try to steal the second statue, of course," said Alfred. "She'll try," said Batman. "She certainly will." Yep. Chapter 5. Here, kitty, kitty. 2 days later, Batman was at the Egyptian embassy in Gotham City, where the second Bat statue was being returned for safekeeping. In a little while, an armored car would pull up in front of the building. Police officers would carry safe with the statue inside to the embassy. Or embassy? Embassy, right? Okay, thanks for the help. Batman knew Catwoman would try to steal the statue, but he was ready for her. He made sure this event on the news and hid inside of the guardhouse on the busy street. Exactly on time, the armored car drove up to the embassy, surrounded by 4 police cars through the crack in the groundhouse door. Batman saw the car stop in front of the embassy. What a loser. He watched the Egyptian ambassador come out of the embassy to meet the armored car. A policeman and policewoman pulled out the special car. Then, following the ambassador, the police officers hurried inside of the embassy carrying the safe. There was no sign of Catwoman anywhere. Where could she be? Batman thought. She could never resist a good cat crime. Batman was trying to understand his mistake when the armored car drove away, followed by 3 police cars. He was about to leave the guardhouse when he saw the policeman run out of the embassy alone. She hopped into the 4th police car and sped away. Didn't the policewoman go into the embassy with her partner and the ambassador? Batman wondered, where are they? He rushed inside the embassy and found both men on the floor. The open safe lay between them. It was empty. Batman smelled knockout gas. "Catwoman," he said. Chapter 6. Cat's out of the bag. Catwoman purred as she drove away from the embassy. The second gold statue sat on the seat next to her. She couldn't remember the last time she'd been this happy. She had outsmarted Batman, and now both statues were hers. But how had she done it? Catwoman had realized that she had to steal the statue, not as Catwoman, but as plain old Selina Kyle. That morning, she had put on a policewoman's uniform on her own costume. She had taken up the policewoman who was supposed to help carry the statue, and then she had walked right past Batman. Catwoman knew Batman must have been near the embassy watching, but she also knew that he'd be looking for Catwoman, not Selina Kyle. Catwoman, are you okay? Catwoman purred again as she drove through the Gotham street. Suddenly, the car radio crackled on. "This is Batman. The police car has been stolen." It was last seen heading east on Spring Avenue. But Catwoman wasn't worried. She knew Batman would figure out what had happened. She had planned for that. She made several turns through the busy city streets. She had made sure no one was following her. And then she drove into a deserted alley. There, the feline felon threw away the stolen policewoman's uniform. She was Catwoman once again. Then, clutching the statue, she climbed the fire escape, ran across the rooftops towards home. Chapter 7. Catnip. Suddenly, the Dark Knight stepped from behind a chimney into Catwoman's path. "Batman!" she screeched like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. "Nice try, Catwoman," Batman said. "Maybe you can run from the police, but you can't escape my bat tracer. It led me right to you." "Bat tracer?" she said, confused. Batman pointed to a gold statue. Catwoman turned it over, and there she saw a small blinking object. "An electronic tracking device," Batman said. "No!" howled Catwoman. She hissed and threw the statue at Batman. Then she started running the other way. Batman caught the priceless statue with one hand. Wow. With his other hand, he threw a batarang that wrapped around a rope around Catwoman's feet. She fell hard into the rooftop. A moment later, the dark shape of Batman stood over her, snapping back cuffs on her wrist. "I thought I'd finally outsmarted you, Batman," said Catwoman. "You almost did, Batman, but you should know better than anyone that a leopard can't change her spots." Blueness. The end.